Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show. Now, oftentimes when you go out and you spend a bit more than you thought that you should have, you feel a sense of guilt. And this is usually associated with things that you love doing. Sometimes the hobbies that you have are a little expensive. But we're here to tell you that this is not necessarily something that should cause you guilt. If you plan things appropriately, my next guest is going to give you a way in which you can manage your expenses so that you don't feel that guilt. Let me introduce you to Kartik Jhaveri, who's joining in. Thank you so much, Kartik, for taking the time, and apologies for the delay in getting you on. Kartik is with Transcend Consulting. Kartik, just to start with, there's this feeling of guilt that all of us have felt when we're spending on a little bit more on things that give us happiness, give us pleasure, but that shouldn't always be the case, right? There should be a place in our finances for those things. How do you manage that?
You know, Alex, it's been quite popular, this kind of dilemma that a lot of people have. And a lot of my sessions where I'm speaking, I actually start out with a question saying, would you like to have a gym membership or would you like to have a Louis Vuitton bag? You know, and you know what people want to answer, but then diplomatically they answer something else. So this is a perfect scenario like that. But hey, you know what? There's no need to feel guilty about it. What's important is you need to feel good internally. If you are feeling good in your mind, in your body, in your soul, then financial decisions become that much more easier. So if you feel that, you know, by having a bag or by having the holiday or by having any such luxury item is going to actually stimulate your sense of self-esteem or pride, then I think sometimes it's a well worth investment to do. We could speak, you know, on a separate show on that. But just to answer your question directly, the best way of doing this thing is that when we are planning, just the way you plan for your retirement, just the way you plan for your kids' education, you plan for, let's say, you know, some holidays, the way we are making budgets and allocating investment funds for that, and the way we make that strategy, in the same way, you make a luxury fund, or you make a fund for doing all these, you know, activities which are unique to you and your family, and you would like to pursue them regularly, and have a ready-made funding for that, so that whenever you feel like it, just make a withdrawal, make a, you know, redemption, or sell those investments, and then there you go. You can buy anything from an iPhone to to maybe a Porsche Lamborghini, if you like.
I'm hoping, Kartik, that Porsche or Lamborghini is within the ambit of what my viewers are considering buying, and I would wish them that good luck and fortune.
Absolutely.
But having said that, you know, we're in a situation, Kartik, where perhaps certain plans that had been made, even for people here in India, thinking about going abroad, that well-earned vacation that a lot of people have put off because of the pandemic, this Omicron variant is putting paid to some of those plans. Can you use that money that you thought you would spend to bolster your fund? And what really should be the composition of this fund? How do you go about creating this fund? Where should it be parked?
So I'm going to try and answer this a little differently, Alex, because there are lots of things that we do with these kind of things. First off, you know, what I like to do is, when we're doing planning, I would just like to, open the minds of all our audience and tell them, you could actually have 4 or 5 or 6 different type of funds. You know, you could call one as a temporary fund, something that you wanted to do, but you couldn't do it. And therefore there's a fund allocated and you are worried that you might use up that fund somewhere else. So you go and park it into a temporary fund. Okay. There could be a travel fund, a little bit of a corpus from which you fund your travel all along. Entertainment fund. These days, properties and high-end properties are expensive, and property maintenance fund. These are things that people like to do. And finally, ultimately, you might want to have a living expense fund. So you have an investment which earns so much that it pays for your living expenditure. So these are kind of various buckets in which we start putting things alike. These are just funds, generically called. Now, where would you park these funds? I mean, which investments would you use? Right from a very simple fixed deposit to a P2P instrument from a temporary point of view or a slightly longer point of view, or you might even want to use a mutual fund and stocks as well. Now, specifically about travel. Travel is something that we all like to do, and we would like to do it year after year, right? So to begin with, if you were not able to travel next year, and you are not sure whether, last year, I beg your pardon, and if you are able to travel next year, maybe you want to park it into something really safe, like a liquid P2P, or maybe you want to park it into a fixed deposit, so that the money stays safe and you don't accidentally use it for something else. And that way you can augment it a little bit, and then pay for a few extra things, or you might have a little extra satisfaction of being able to use a little extra money from there. But if you make this as a regular practice, right, and if you are year on year, through the year, as you are contributing, as you're earning and you're contributing to a travel fund, eventually that could be an equity fund, because some year you will make more profit, some year lesser profit. Ultimately, in some years you might even have a drawdown, but that's not so bad, because your plan is perpetual and every year you're going to use it. So we love to create this kind of a travel fund out of a multi-cap fund. Now, whenever you need the money, just make a withdrawal. And after 4, 5 years, 6 years, you're not even worried about a 20, 30% drawdown, because there is enough and adequate funding into that place. And that way you can, keep having better holidays, larger holidays, more refined holidays, and, better quality resorts, better quality hotels. I mean, you name it. Whatever you want, you can improve it and upgrade it over a period of time if you had this sort of a travel fund.
The other thing that I want to ask you about, and quite a few of these purchases that people make are spur of the moment decisions. They end up swiping their card, for example. But, if you actually stop to think, for example, if I want to buy a PS5, not that it's available, Kartik, if you've got someone who can sell me a PS5, please let me know. But okay. Having said that, if I know that I want to have a PS5, I can budget for it, in that I can save that surplus every month, so that I can accumulate that over a period of 2 or 3 months. So it kind of cools my ardor somewhat, and it allows me to accumulate the funds I need. Do you think that's a better approach to have, or is it okay to just swipe it?
Well, if it's really that much of an impulse, my normal first reaction is that, step back and ask yourself if you need it. And then after 2 weeks, you come back and ask yourself again, do you really need it? And the third time you get a yes answer, then go ahead and swipe it, that kind of a thing. But of course, see, the thing is, a lot of times, Alex, we don't really know when such an impulse will strike and what people feel like buying. It could be a watch, or it could be like a video, gaming technology that you're mentioning, or it could be, just some, beautiful chandelier that you see and you really think that you must really have it, that kind of a thing. So if you have, let's say, an SIP running into a liquid fund, so you don't have a defined purpose for that. It could just be a, miscellaneous fund, maybe call it, whichever label you want to put on it, but add some money to it every now and then, and we can all do that. It's not really impossible. We can all manage doing a little bit of a contribution there. And then when you want to do it, go ahead, by all means, swipe your card. But like we always say, don't roll the credit. When the time comes to pay, make a withdrawal from that particular fund. Go ahead and pay it. You feel less guilty about it. And most importantly, Alex, you feel you deserve it and you earned it. You see? And that way you can enjoy, or you can have more pleasure out of your purchase, rather than, oh, I just did it. Now I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, or I have to, borrow, take a personal loan, or I have to take a credit card loan and suffer for the next 6 months paying for it. So we don't want that kind of a feeling to seep in.
The next question that I have for you is a bit of a nuanced question, Kartik, and it relates to people that are living together. So you have partners, either in one situation, both are earning and contributing to the expenses of that household, but each of them have things that make them happy respectively. They have different hobbies or spending patterns. How do they set up a fund? Do they set up a fund separately? And in a situation where there's only one earning member, is it very important for that earning member to consider the leisure requirements of their partner?
The second question first, absolutely. I mean, if you're partners, if you're living together, and especially in a case where you have only one person who's bringing in the money, then that's an arrangement that you already knew before you even got together, isn't that? So therefore, of course, by all means, without any element of doubt, yes, you want to take care of your partner's needs as well, and leisure as well. You can, of course, have a fund, and everything that you do it in a manner by which it's an anyone survivor kind of a thing, because you've chosen this option, And that way you give your partner also the debit card and also the credit card, and by which they are able to make use of those investments and those expenditures that they want to do, even for their leisure or any other activity or purchase that they want to do. Now, if you're in a scenario where both people are doing things together, then the standard rule of thumb is do everything equally. So if you're paying a home EMI, pay it equally. Let it go from both the accounts. It's just setting up 2 direct debits instead of 1. If you're, for example, going for a holiday, both make a payment. So make it equally. Or if you're making household purchases, you could purchase maybe 3 things and the other partner could purchase another 3 or 4, as long as the monetary value is broadly the same. So that way, if there are 2 people doing things, then it may not be possible to divide every expenditure into 50-50. But then, you take the electricity, somebody else takes the internet bills and things like that. And that is how you make a broad division. So in the same fashion, you extend that to leisure funds and travel funds and holiday funds also, that both of you create your own little funds. Of course, what label to put on it is up to us, and how we record it is also up to us. Technology these days is really helpful. But the underlying fund that we have, whether it's a mutual fund or it's a fixed deposit or it's a P2P or there's a bunch of small case or a share portfolio, whatever it is underlying, as long as you know that the purpose of this investment is actually to fund my purchases for this specific activity, whether leisure or whether travel, as long as you have that and both of you are doing separately, then I think it should be very easy to manage as you move forward.
See, I promised my viewers, Kartik, that you would give them ways in which they can do the things that they love doing without feeling guilty. And I think if they follow your advice, they will be able to do that. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I will certainly learn something and do something based on what you've just said.
Thank you, Alex. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.